Recent Nigerian elections have demonstrated commendable efforts by security agencies in maintaining order in several areas, ensuring that voters could exercise their rights peacefully. Strategic deployment of security personnel, pre-election security assessment, all help to deter violence in key urban centers and regions. However, significant security challenges are recorded during the period, including voter intimidation, attacks, and attacks on election officials and disruptions in polling units. Reports of security agencies failing to prevent violence, as well as allegations of complicity in electoral malpractice, further deepened concerns about election security. As Nigeria prepares for future elections, it is crucial to assess the strengths and weaknesses of the current security framework. How can security forces be better equipped and trained to handle evolving electoral security threats? This discussion aims to explore actionable strategies for enhancing election security, protecting voters, and upholding the integrity of Nigeria's democratic process. I am Ezenwawagu. Welcome to Electoral Reform Half Hour on NTA News 24 Abuja. This program is brought to you by the Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa, PACA, with support from MacArthur Foundation. Our guest tonight is Habila Joshak, a retired Deputy Inspector General of Police, DIG of the Nigerian Police Force, known for his contributions to law enforcement and national security. He served as DIG in charge of operations and was actively involved in major security operations across Nigeria. Notably, he played roles in ensuring security during the 2017 Anambra governorship election and in Operation Harmony to restore peace in southern Kaduna. After retiring in 2018, he continued to engage in security discourse, advocating for community policing and electoral violence prevention. He has contributed immensely to literature on policing and election management in Nigeria. The Nigerian Police Force plays lead and critical roles in election security. Based on your experience, what are the challenges facing what are the challenges elections have faced, especially primary security threats that face people during elections? DIG Habila, it's my pleasure to welcome you.
Thank you for having me.
I decided to start with that salvo.
Yes.
Because I know you are prepared all the time.
Of course, election is one of the most democratic process of getting people into position of authority in a civilized country. In Nigeria, there is an outfit that is responsible for conducting election, and the Nigerian police is one of the most needed and assigned people when it comes to election. And in doing that, there are a lot of issues that crop up because if the electorates and the citizens of the country want to have an election that will throw up leaders that the people have decided to make as leaders. But in some cases, a lot of issues from the citizen not wanting to follow the rules of the games, and at the same time ensuring that or begin to tamper with some of the security apparatus that are put in place by the Nigerian police. And so you find out that there are a lot of interest from the citizen. The citizen do not do that which is right. The citizen does not follow the procedure. And so the Nigerian police have no option than sometimes to apply some force, and sometimes the police deployment is made by or is requested, and then it is the INEC that ask for the number of personnel and not the police themselves, trying to know how many would I put here. There are some threat here. In election in Nigeria, sometimes have just three people in a polling unit where there are a lot of electorates, and the police do not have a choice or an imprint. I'm trying to also assist in saying that the number of security at that point will not be enough. They do not have that right. And that's why sometimes you find out the security are skeletal, the securities are not enough, and then issues that come up cannot be contained with, and so violence.
But I saw you in Anambra in 2017. And, I also know that you are very experienced in terms of deployment for elections. Yes. So the challenge is not so much because the police, the security agencies will always tell you about the number that they are deploying. And they are deploying 31,000, 21,000, 11,000, all of those things. But that's not where I'm going to be drawing your attention to now. Police they are meant to swear oath of neutrality. Do you think that oath, do you think it has impact in security provisioning, that oath of neutrality that they swear? And if they swear it at the polling units, will it make any real impact?
I think it will. It is there that we're supposed to be neutral. We're supposed to do that which is right. But sometimes you see a situation where a lot of influence coming, and then for some reasons the police sometimes are used to tamper with the process of election. And doing that, some highly placed individuals, some other people that that they are citizens, and those who are responsible for the election, conducting the election, sometimes, confuse the police. Because sometimes you find a situation where a very large place, an election point where there are so many electorates, and then they will say it's just 3 police that they've made provision for. And so the allowances to be paid are for 3 people. And so they will scale down the deployment. And you don't have the right to say, no, I'm going to deploy that.
What about the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security?
Yes.
Which, at the national level, the INEC chairman and the IG chairs, I thought those are clearing houses for this kind of conversation that you are having. What was your own experience?
Yeah, I was always where the chairman INEC, and sometimes the IG and myself, always with them. And of course, the INEC chairman would accept that we should do that which we know that the election will be credible. But when you get to the field, you are not likely to see that kind of agreement. Sometimes they would just tell you that they just want three policemen, because the allowances and what have you that is made to them at that particular point is 3. And sometimes we said, no, we are not here for allowances and what have you. And they would say, no, 3 people are supposed to be.
The IG, you know these things. You have an architecture that puts armed policemen 300 meters away, unarmed policemen or security agents within the presence of the polling unit, and then at the outer architecture you have the military.
Yes.
So in all of this, the point for me is the continued issue of bias, which challenges this oath of neutrality.
Yes.
Where does it come from? you're talking about politicians confusing the police and all of that. But where is the place of professionalism?
Yeah. You see, there's a limit to what police or security agencies that are deployed on election day. There are clear responsibilities that has been already, put in place. And one of it, like you said, is you cannot be around the voting point with arms.
Yes.
And that was why I used my native intelligence, my discretion, to station those policemen that you see out there. I was not told to do that. But I knew that there could be issues. And if after looking at assessing the threats, we put them there, sometimes we are asked to remove them, but we don't. But it was not official. Those people that you saw in a truck waiting were our discretion. So that if there's anything, we can respond. And so we need to revisit the electoral laws and to sensitize people and to tell them that we can't limit the security agencies and others that are responsible when we know that it's likely to tamper with the process.
So I know that you rely on risk assessments,
Yes.
for to identify potential flashpoints and before elections. So intelligence gathering, what are those intelligence gathering mechanisms that help you to, to position your men in the different strategic places? And how effective do you think this intelligence has been?
Yes, we in most cases there are people that are willing in all the communities to let you know those
Flashpoints.
yes, those flashpoints, and the kind of youth and others, politicians, that are ready to throw up anything that will temper the process. Sometimes you go, they tell us. And that's why we have the intelligence people 3 weeks before election, they've gone, and those of them that we know that are likely to constitute a nuisance, those ones we pick. They won't be allowed to vote. We pick those ones. And sometimes it helps us in most cases.
I know that you during your time, you've warned about the use of money, vote buying.
Yes.
But it's become more sophisticated than...
It became so
Yeah, so what, before we go on a short break, just in few minutes, in few seconds, what do you think we can do to curb the menace of vote buying?
well, no, it's done by the electorate, it's done by the politicians. And if you insist and put a law that can deal with that situation, nobody will have to create a place where on your way to go and vote, you enter, you take the number, you go, you vote, you take the picture of your thumbprint, and you send back to where you got that number. And on your way, there's some money waiting for you. I tried to stop that in Anambra, and I was reported to then the CNC, who called me, and I explained to him, and he said I should do my work. Yes.
Okay, we'll go on a short break now. Electoral reform half hour. Will come back shortly. Glad to have you back. This is Electoral Reform half hour on the networks of NTA 24. And we've been talking with DIG Habila Joshak, retired Deputy Inspector General of Police. You were telling me something while we went on that break, but what INEC, in terms of remuneration and welfare of the men on duty, what INEC does is stipend. Yes. The resources, the money for the allowances for the police are paid to you people in the high command by right now the National Security Advisor, who who is now directly informing that. What was it in your time? Because INEC pays that since they feed their own staff, they also they can't have people working for them and not give them stipends for feeding.
Yes, in my time, the policemen are deployed to the polling units are entitled to 1,000.
That's the one the INEC. That's the one
the
INEC
gives. Yet the government also give some fund for the purposes of maybe fueling and what have you. But it's not. It has never been enough at all. And so sometimes you have difficulties because we use our ideas and what we think is right sometimes to bring in some vehicles, like I said, to put them at a position, vantage position.
But the election is not a special. Those vehicles, you already have them.
Yes.
Let's say your armored vehicles, all of those things you use, they already exist.
But it's not allowed. In election, you are not supposed to bring them. They do not want you to bring armed men.
The Police Act says you have a right, you have a duty to what do they say now? Enforce all laws.
Yeah.
So what's the special? So if somebody is slapped on election day, is that not in your?
Yeah, that's why I said we use our ideas. It wasn't, it wasn't an approved one that you have to come and put some men armed at a vantage position to respond at short notice. Those ones, a lot of the politicians didn't want that, and they will always complain and report. And because the government knows that it was in the interest of the citizen, they won't take any action against us. Otherwise, there's nowhere that shows that we should carry arms. So we're supposed to remain, and that's why people from nearby, hiding, armed, that do not want this election to go on, normally emerge from that places and then attack the security men.
Since you retired as DIG, I'm sure you have had time to reflect.
I do.
And if there is something you would want to change in election operations, security provisioning, what would that thing be?
The Nigerian police and other security agencies have the capacity to ensure free, fair, and credible election. But in most cases, you discover that there are people, because like I said, the security agencies sometimes fish out people that are really, really, or who have planned, that we have, that got to us, that they will do very, very serious things, negative things. Those ones, we pick them up and keep them until after election. And so if Nigerians want to have the best election, I must be very frank with you that the Nigerian police do not intend to rig election unless highly placed individuals influence them.
Were you influenced during
I was never influenced. But I know that there are some who will want to try to do. We had leaders and we had the IG and the rest. That if you dare do that, somebody is seen and it will be boomerang. So we did it.
You've been contributing a lot in civil society in terms of security provisioning. Exactly. Your book is very highly rated in terms of understanding how this works. Now there are different kinds of reform issues that are going on in the National Assembly. Yes. People are talking about the need to allow people like security officials, civil society, media, doctors who work on election to vote, what they call early voting. I don't know if you followed that conversation.
Yes.
Do you think that is helpful for?
It's very, very helpful. Because if you are disenfranchised as a security person that have his right, that would like to exercise his right, it does not augur well. It is very, very important that they consider that and ask all those who are responsible for providing security and all election duties to vote. there must be a window where every citizen...
What do you think is the challenge why we are not doing that here?
I'm also thinking that some people must have had, they're thinking that that will also help them.
If we don't vote.
If we don't vote. Because I don't see why we shouldn't vote. But they will emphasize, and then they would. It is possible, even where you are, you can vote, because the people do not want. I'm sure they want to disenfranchise a lot of people,
especially people. Well, there are people also who are talking about inmates. That inmates should be allowed to vote.
Yes.
You have very huge experience in this area.
Yes.
What could be the challenge, or if not, what is your thoughts on, diaspora voting, inmates voting, and all of these conversations that are going on?
No, I think we should accept the truth that there's a need for everyone to exercise his franchise, whether in prison or outside this country. I think that we should be given the opportunity. It's high time we did that. And I think that is the government should look into that and ensure that every person that wants to exercise his right is allowed to do so.
So final thoughts. If you were, like I said, just one thing you would want to see improved, removed, taken away in election security provisioning, what would that be?
I would recommend that that the violence, I must win, and then sometimes you see highly placed individual, of course, influencing the procedure, and then you see them also, dining and talking and getting too close with those who are supposed to conduct the election, and so it becomes a problem.
This is where we wrap up the conversation on the episode of Electoral Reform Half Hour. Very special thanks to the ever young,
very old,
retired DIG, Habila Joshak, retired Inspector General of Police. Thank you so very much for your time and contributions on the program. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Electoral Reform Half Hour is brought to you by Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa, with support from MacArthur Foundation. We are live every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. with a repeat broadcast every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Same station. Thank you for watching. I am Ezenwa Wagu.